you just felt like a good fit and you've been a fantastic fit. And I just needed someone to kind of push us to that next level and to give us some guidance based on science. So that's what helped us take that next step. And we've been loving every minute.
Welcome to Richer Retailer, where we're going to fix your cash flow and build profits so you can build a legacy and finally sleep better. That is for sure what I needed when I had my store. Hosted by me, Kathy Donovan Wagner, I'm an accidental retailer who went from near bankruptcy to owning 3 successful stores, generating multiple 7 figures in sales. As the founder of Retail Mavens, my mission is to help more women-owned retail stores reach $1 million. So if you're ready to scale past 7 figures and you like coffee, champagne, and profit and fun, well, at least profit and fun, our solutions will help. Join the Millie Club and let's go! Welcome, you guys. Oh my goodness. I'm so thrilled to be able to introduce you to Alana. Alana Turner is one of our clients. She's one of our mastermind clients and owns this amazing store, Poopsies. And if you've ever asked yourself, but if I buy more, won't I sell more? The answer to that will be determined today. I'm going to leave you hanging until we're going to let Alana answer that question for you. Alana, thank you so much for joining us.
You bet. Thanks for having me on.
Oh gosh, it's so fun. Well, and so I'd love for you to share, what's your retail origin story? How did you end up in retail?
Well, in college, I needed more cash, as every college student does. So easiest thing to pick up is a quick retail job, and I did that. And then it had an opportunity for an internship, so I did that. And next thing you knew, I was owning a store named Poopsies. So, number of years in between then, a lot more adventures. But who knows what a little thing in college can turn around to later on in life when all the right paths cross.
Yeah, right. So it sounds like you're an accidental retailer, like so many people are.
Totally so.
Well, and so tell us where the name of the store came from. I love this.
Yes, so that's probably our most popular question and one of our favorite stories to share. So the original owners knew that they wanted to open the store. They knew where it was going. They had everything but the name. And right before they were going to open the store, her grandmother passed away. And her grandmother had Alzheimer's and lots of grandchildren. So she always called everybody Poopsie because she could never remember anybody's name. So since she had passed right before the opening of the store, they said, you know what? Let's call it Poopsies. And it's been a great fit because it's a warm, fuzzy story. Kids think they get to say a naughty word while they're there. It's incredible how many people have the nickname Poopsies. So, everybody loves trying to find their own little trinket from there to take home in their Poopsies bag because of that. So it's been a lot of fun.
Oh, that's so good. I just love that story. I had always wondered where the name came from too. Oh, and you should tell people where you're located so that they also know that.
Yes, so we're in Galena, Illinois, which is, if you were to look at a map and you put your finger over top of where Illinois, Iowa, and Wisconsin all touch on the map, you would be covering us up because we can literally fall almost into the Mississippi River. We can hop over to Wisconsin at any point, and the same thing for Iowa. So we're in a pretty unique little location there, and it's a tourist town with a lot of history, as President Grant was there while he was president. So.
Oh, I did not know that. That's fascinating. It sounds like you've answered that question quite a few times too.
That's another one we get here and there.
So what made you choose to take the next step? What's your goal in retail right now?
So we've come a long ways. I've almost owned the store for coming up on 15 years here and then had, 10 plus years before that. So there's a lot of years under my belt in the world of Poopsies. And just in general, I always believe in just always growing myself in every way. You should always be moving forward in some way. And we've grown to a size now at Poopsies, which, because of our expansion, which we'll get to and such, that we were to a point that I just really didn't know what our next best steps were. And so you were the first person that I've ever reached out to and connected with as a mastermind that I actually felt would understand the uniqueness of our store, the uniqueness of our tourism in our town, because it is a very different world than a lot of specialty retailers have, the seasonality and such. So you just felt like a good fit and you've been a fantastic fit. And I just needed someone to kind of push us to that next level and to give us some guidance based on science. So that's what helped us take that next step. And we've been loving every minute.
Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you so much for sharing that. I love this example of driving a car, and especially when you first start your business, you're the one that's driving the car all the time. You're the one that's driving, pushing everything. It's your pedal on the foot on the gas and everything. And I loved how we started talking about how you want to be able to move to the passenger side. You still want to be part of it. It's not that you don't want to be part of it, but that you don't want to have to be the one that's driving as much as you have been.
Right. Yeah. Like I totally want to be in the car and I absolutely still want to drive. I just want to choose exactly when I drive. So, maybe I want to see the sunrise, maybe I want to see the sunset, drive when I'm going through the mountains, but I don't want to take that boring, cut across the cornfields for 6 hours. And I want to take a nap when I want to take a nap. So I'm trying to set up life to where I can be in the passenger seat when I want to and be in the driver's seat when I want to. And I'm enjoying you helping me find that way.
Yeah, it's my favorite thing to do. It's so fun. We always say that when you're in the frame, you can't see the picture. You only know what you know. But what I love about what I get to do is that I can see the whole picture and have helped others through this. And so I get so excited about what's possible for you. Although, to be sure, the story that you've been through recently with your store expansion is something that I had never experienced in the same way. And I would love for you to talk about that. And so talk about your expansion and what happened with all that.
We lucked out and the building next door became available, which in the world of Galena, which is 1800-year-old brick buildings, doesn't happen a lot. And so we lucked out and had that happen. So we busted through the wall literally and doubled our square footage. So in doing that, we had to make a decision what we were going to do for the new look of the store. Like, what did we want that to be? And that's been just shy of 2 years from when we did that. So we just finished in our second year of the new space. And we made a very conscientious decision to leave our inventory levels where they were at. Like, so even though, yes, we're going to have twice the space, we chose not to double the inventory in the store, but instead to really focus on the feeling of the store and how it made customers feel while they were in the store. And so it's very open. It's very well curated with beautiful displays that tell different stories. We hear all the time, just heard it this morning, and people are like, it's like a treasure hunt when I'm here. I just don't know what this section's even going to have because we don't have a kids section and an adult section and a kitchen section. Like it's literally all kind of trickled through the whole 4,000 square feet. So it was a very conscientious decision. It was very hard as a buyer not to just dive in and buy everything I loved. And then the things that we chose to buy and to keep, we were very thoughtful on as well as how they've been performing and how much time the customers spent with that product. And it's been a lot of fun. And it turns out we can sell more dollars with the same amount or less inventory just because of that. So it's been a fun experiment and we've really enjoyed our past time of checking it out.
And when did that happen again? When did your expansion happen?
So expansion officially finished up in around March of 2023.
Mm-hmm.
And then, it took some time to kind of settle into everything. So I'd say this year was kind of our first year of knowing what the space was like, knowing the flow of traffic, all of that. So I'd say this is our first year of really understanding the space and being able to know exactly how it was going to work together. And then 2023 was more of a experimental kind of figuring out a few things in the flow of traffic and which doors to have open and such.
Mm-hmm. What's interesting is when I look at your inventory levels of 2024 compared to 2023, actually, they're all less. You're about 8% less an average inventory for all of 2024 than you were in 2023. And so I'm just wondering, but you doubled your space. So what happened to your sales?
So our sales have actually gone up. We've probably gone up about 12% over this past year, and that's been fantastic. And I really think it is truly because of the changes we've made with the inventory levels in the store and what those inventories specifically are, like really putting science behind what to choose, where to put it, how much to bring in. It's still a learning process. You and I are still working on that whole how much to bring in because there's things that still make me nervous. But yeah, it has been fascinating to watch it. And the most fascinating part of it is we have found customers will spend so much time in the store now. Like it's not unusual for a customer to be in the store for at least an hour, just taking the store in, so that's been new. Before we were so packed from floor to ceiling with no exaggeration that it just got overwhelming after a while and people would have to leave and check out simply because they're subconsciously, if they weren't consciously, overwhelmed by all that was happening there. Instead of now it's a very peaceful, calming treasure hunt, as they tell us, going through the store.
Tell them what your Instagram handle is and your Facebook handle so they can find you there.
Yes, so we are Poopsies of Galena on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Just make sure you put both P's, both O's, and both S's in, or you might get some other fun sites as well. I don't know what they are, but every now and then people give us some funny stories. So Poopsies of Galena, and that's in Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And then we're poopsies.com for our website, which we have out there as well. And that helps us kind of share our story and our charities and all of that on there too.
So you guys will put that in the show notes for you also, so you have all access to all of those too, just in case you missed anything, or you want to make sure you spell it correctly and you don't go to the wrong place. I can remember you sharing with me pictures, and it was beautiful how there was breath, there was area to breathe around things, and beyond a shadow of a doubt, that has encouraged people to stay longer, and that's why they're spending more. I know it's so counterintuitive to what an average retailer thinks. I was actually talking to somebody just a couple weeks ago, and they were sharing with me what their plans were for the next year. They had lost money this past year, 2024, which, right, it's been tough. And so they were showing me the plans for next year. And they're like, so what do you think about them? I said, well, I don't really think it's realistic to assume you're going to do 50% more business just because you say so. And he said, oh, no. It's not that I say so. It's just that I'm going to buy 50% more. And so that's how my sales are going to go up 50%. I was like, that is not how it works. It does not work that way. More inventory does not always mean more sales. That's why I was so excited you shared that story, because that's what people always think.
Yeah, and we thought the same thing for years. I mean, we've always just packed that place to the rooftop, and we always thought, well, more options meant that you were going to catch more customers and have a better chance that, instead of them finding two things they love, they'll find five things they love. And, in today's world as well, all of us individual human beings are just hit with so much distractions and marketing and all of that every second of the day. I mean, it is a very different world than it was 10 years ago, definitely different than it was 15, 20 years ago. But, so that being said too, like we've found that in the store, if we have three styles of something or five styles of something, like a color of a mug or whatever, they will stand there and debate on which one they want, and then they end up leaving with none. So we scale back to almost everything has 1 to 3 options. Perfectly fine. We are selling those same exact products at a much higher rate by pulling back the depth, which in my mind as a retailer was completely against what I would have thought would have been the answer, right? Like there was no way. And we thought, what the heck, we're just going to try it. Worst case, we put it in our sale and call it a day. But the same exact product, no changes on the product, just simply scaling that back, the customer was able to like actually make decisions and execute the decision instead of being overwhelmed and they just walked away. It was like just fascinating to watch that happen. And that's not something that we had to deal with, I don't think, 5, 10 years ago.
That's very true. There is a scientific study done called the paradox of choice. And it's exactly about that, about consumers being offered more choices of jam is what it is. They found that the sales were dramatically higher when they had fewer choices to make. And now, for sure, it's even smaller than ever before. And so it's made you buy differently, hasn't it, also? So not only how are you hitting your open to buy numbers then if you're offering a smaller selection?
Well, I will be honest, that is my biggest challenge is, I have this coach that tells me to spend more on a category, and it takes me a little more work to figure out how to make those dollars make sense
Mhm.
because we just are so very thoughtful on what's going into each of those. But, it's like anything, you do enough research and you dig deep enough, you'll find it. And then what we do is once we test it, then we just make sure that we're having enough depth there
Mhm.
to, fill those customers' sales and not be cutting it too close all the time.
Right. I am positive that is yet another reason why your sales have gone up is because you don't run out of things like you used to, because you're forced to carry things in more depth now. You're reordering more quickly than you ever did. And I have found that that always increases sales too. No doubt that's part of it too. So because you don't run out of your best sellers and you're able to tell a story with them. Whereas ordinarily it was always that if this is one of my best sellers, I'll reorder it when I get down to a couple. But now you're forced to continue to order so many, right?
Right. And it has helped us in other areas of the business that we didn't realize it would. It makes our marketing a lot easier because we know this, chunk of products will always have plenty of stock here. So they're very safe to have on the website because it won't run out. And it's safe to put it in that email that's planned 2 months ahead
Mhm.
because I know it'll still be here in the building at that time. So it has made it a lot easier. Whereas before you'd have a concept, you'd put in the products that fit right now, and then you'd hope that you had stock in the building and it didn't have like a, increase or something and buy you out before that email went out. So it
Mhm.
has taken a lot of pressure off of some other areas of the business that we didn't originally think that would help alleviate.
Wow, right. That's awesome. Yeah, that's really great. Have you share your story about this? Because I was writing this email and I said that I challenged people to look at the sales for their past year and to divide that number in half and telling them they shouldn't have more inventory at retail, at a retail value, than that number on the floor. And I said it's because science proved that customers get confused with that much inventory to choose from and they won't buy. And it's incredible how you've lived that out. The next word I typed out was poopsies because I said I knew I had to have you to share that story because people just wouldn't believe it. I'm positive it's true. You've proven that it's true.
And I
Um,
did that math after you put that in there, and it was surprisingly how small our number was. It really doesn't have to be a large percentage of your sales in order for those sales to keep turning.
no, right. Absolutely. Yeah. Your number is considerably smaller than that. Wow.
I think when I did it, it was like 15% or something
Yeah,
crazy.
right. So then you guys, the correlation to that from the retail science perspective is that she's turning her merchandise fast. So I was saying that you shouldn't be at more than 50% of your sales on your floor, correct? Well, so if she's at 15% of her sales volume is what's on the floor and in retail value, then 50 minus 15 is 35. So 35% of her sales is the amount that some people would have on their floor, but she has that money in cash in the bank because it's not sitting on the floor. That's the beautiful thing about it. And so she's able to pay her team well. She's able to invest in other things. And it's because she doesn't have all that extra inventory, all those extra dollars, which is how you have to look at it. Each piece of inventory on your floor. This is not a glass. This is dollars that's sitting on your floor and it turns in her. And we're working to even slow that turn down because I know that I can get her sales up even more in this next year coming up. We'll have to do a follow up next January and see how everything did. Gosh, thank you so much for being here. Before we go, when I first talked to you, I was so struck by how clear your vision was for your life. Would you mind sharing your story about that? How you got such clarity?
Yeah. So when one of the big chapters of Poopsies, as it came up, I happened to purchase the store from the original owners shortly after I'd become a stay-at-home mom, which I was delighted for. But when opportunity knocks, you got to take it. And so that happened. And then, unfortunately, within a week of when I opened the doors of Poopsies on my own, my mom passed away, and my dad had passed away from cancer about 2 years prior to that. So a very young age to be without parents, orphaned, as I like to say, because I have a number of friends that way as well. But what it did do is it gave me that crystal clear vision of what my mission would be and what I wanted to do. And that was, not be super attached and married to my job, to enjoy my job and make sure that it resonated with my personal values and my personal mission. And
Mhm.
we've done that since day one, my business partner, myself. Yes, we've had the kids in there when they were little, receiving with stickers, whatever we had to do. But we made sure that we weren't there 7 days a week attached to that retail store like a lot of people are. And
Mhm.
that also has been a very clear vision for me as to why I want to be able to be in that passenger seat when I want to. Because obviously, neither of my parents chose to, not have any more days here on this earth when they did, and it was short. So I want to make sure that every day that I'm here, I'm in control of where my time is going. And, I want to get out and enjoy things as well, a little more than I currently do. So I need that passenger seat a bit more once in a while, but still want to see my baby poopsies survive and thrive and keep adding joy to the world that it is, because that's what it's done since the day it's opened, no matter which chapter it's been in. And I just want to make sure I'm setting that up before I move into new chapters of my own life. So.
Right. Wow. Thanks so much for sharing. It's really moving. And has it made it easier to say no to some things?
I'm not great at saying no, so that might be one of my downfalls, but it's something I continually work on, and it at least comes to mind each time,
Mhm.
so maybe it slows down my no or it slows down my yeses maybe a little bit. But yeah, I do evaluate things more now than I used to, especially as I keep aging. Apparently,
Mhm.
that's what happens as you keep aging. You get smarter and smarter in your head with these things. So
Oh, yeah. That's
So yeah, none of this is happening tomorrow, but also it's impossible when you run a business to have anything happen tomorrow. So I know it's important to start thinking on this now and, help set up the world around me so that everybody can succeed and thrive no matter what the future chapters look like. So
right. Amen. That's really beautifully said. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And so I always love to end the episodes by asking about a millie moment. What's your millie moment? And so let me just remind all of you that so a millie is a retailer that has crossed $1 million. And I'm proud to say that Elena has done that very well. She's done that often. She's great. She certainly is a proud millie. And a millie moment then is a time when you achieved something in your business that felt extraordinary. It's not always about the $1 million mark. Sometimes it is. And it all started because less than 1.9% of all $1 million businesses in North America are owned by women. And so I'm on a mission to increase that number. That is literally what I want to do. But sometimes a millie moment is also when you realize that, wow, I did that. So it can be about the dollar milestone, but it's also about any breakthrough that gave you a sense of like pride and inspiration. And what would you say that it was for you? What was your millie moment, Elena, and how did it inspire your journey?
yeah, so you posed that question to me, and I really did think on it a little differently because, well, as you know, I am a numbers person. I like those square boxes in Excel, so I love
Yes.
those kind of goals. Yeah, you and we relate on that real well. Love those kind of goals. But I thought, what were some of the moments where like kind of touched my heart and said, I did that. We did that. That's Poopsies. I thought about it, and you know what? It's been after the expansion because a lot of our customers come once a year, twice a year, maybe once every few years. So they're not here constantly. And so my millie moment was after our expansion was like truly set. So like this past year, shimmering, and we would have customers walk through the door and then they would look up and they'd be like they would literally like, or like shrill with delight, or it was like, it happened so often. We almost put a camera at the front door because it was just so interesting to watch. They were all just so joyful that Poopsies was so much bigger and had so much just sort of space and happiness inside. And I'm not talking just the kids, but the kids. I mean, we brought kids to tears, which was they would cry first because they'd walked in the old door and then realize the toys were gone. And then they'd turn the corner and they'd find lots of toys. So the kids were part of it, but this happened with kids and adults. And it kind of left us realize that we were not giving ourselves credit for how much joy Poopsies actually adds to the world. And that's always been our mission, right? Joy through service, adding joy to the world through our service. And that's a big part of us. But to see it in action with people that we don't know who they are, right? Like you don't remember every customer that you see every 3 years, but to see people come through and just literally like jump with joy or, shrill with delight or squeal, like it reminded us of why we're really doing what we do. And then we're like, well, how can we add more joy? So then that has been, some of these little tweaks we've made with inventory and messaging and, so we continually now want to see, well, how can we take that joy up a notch? Because what if lots of people come through and, jump with joy? That would be so awesome. So that was my millie moment.
Thank you so much for sharing. That is so inspiring. It really is. Because I do think that it's everyone's fear is that you don't have enough inventory. And so the fact that you were able to double your space and yet reduce your inventory and bring even more joy to people because they got to actually see all of your carefully curated products that are just wonderful, that they love. Oh, that's just beautiful. That's just beautiful. Hey, and listen, if this episode inspired you, I would love to hear from you. Please leave a review and connect with me over in our Facebook group. You can find that at RETAILMavens with an S. FB for Facebook.com. We'll also put that in the show notes or shoot me a DM. We're Retail Mavens everywhere. I'll meet you back here real soon. Thank you so very much. And know that you, just like Elena, are astonishingly fabulous and you are loved. Thanks again, Elena, so much for being here.
You betcha. Anytime. That was great fun.
It was.